Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great-Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
This is the last episode that we have of The Great-Gildersleeve. Now, the show continued on a bit, and it was transcribed, so I'm sure there are shows floating around out there. We just haven't found them. And it's a really good quality episode. Williard Waterman as the Great-Gildersleeve. This goes back to November 1st, 1956, and the Jolly Boys' Haunted House Adventure.
NBC presents Williard Waterman as the Great-Gildersleeve. Each week at this time, the National Broadcasting Company brings you transcribed a new adventure of the Great-Gildersleeve, written by Virginia Safford Lynn.
Leroy, I thought I told you to go upstairs and finish your homework.
I did.
You've done all of it?
Yep.
Every bit of it?
Yep.
Scout's honor?
Yep. Except the little old pronunciation work.
Aha, just what I thought.
Well, that's not much, Unc.
Well, now, Leroy, I was always very good at pronunciation. I'll be glad to help you.
Oh, you don't need to bother, Unc.
I insist. Now, I'll show you how good I am. What's the first word?
How do you pronounce MacDonald?
It's easy. Name, huh? MacDonald.
Yeah. Okay, how do you pronounce Macintosh?
Macintosh.
Now, how do you pronounce Machinery?
M-A-C. Henry?
No, machinery.
Machinery. Oh. Now, see here, young man.
Gosh, Unc, you fell for that like a ton of bricks.
Now, Leroy, I don't mind being teased. Yeah, I enjoy a joke as much as the next one. But I do resent being called a ton of bricks.
A ton of cement?
Leroy.
It's a beautiful October morning here in Summerfield, and the Great Gildersleeve and his little family are beginning their duties of the day. Leroy is gathering up his homework, and Gildy is getting ready for the office.
Bertie, before I leave for the office...
You'd like another cup of coffee?
Well, that's not what I came for, but I can't refuse. Yeah, I'll just take it black. That'll ease my conscience.
And your waistline, too. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Gildersleeve. Bertie shouldn't tease you.
Why not? Everyone else does. Why does everyone like to tease me?
Oh, gosh, you're so good-natured, Mr. Gildersleeve.
That's nice of you to say that, Bertie.
Well, here's your coffee, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Yeah, thank you. Say, I have a little favor to ask, Bertie, but I want you to keep it under your hat. As you know, tonight's Halloween, and I'm going to fix up some tricks to play on the Jolly Boys.
Yes, sir, and you want Bertie to fry some donuts and have some cider.
Now, how did you know?
Without donuts and cider, Halloween would be a big flopperoo.
Yeah, it certainly would.
You know what Halloween would be without donuts and cider, Miss Gildersleeve?
Yes, Bertie.
That's right, a big flopperoo.
Yes. Now, Bertie, my plan is to lure the Jolly Boys out to that old empty house on Shadow Lane. You know the one.
Oh, yes, sir. That old weather-beaten house the kids pretend is haunted.
Yeah, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, you and I know that there's no such thing as a haunted house, but its reputation makes a perfect spot for Halloween. Would it be too much trouble to bring the refreshments out there?
Oh, Bertie can buy her brother-in-law's jalopy. It'll be fun to get in on some of the doings. Bertie's always ready to trick-or-treat. That's right. Trick-or-treat.
Yeah, oh, thanks, Bertie. That's the spirit, all right. Trick or treat.
Starting kind of early, aren't you, Unc?
Yo, Leroy. Look, my boy, I want to talk to you.
Gee, what did I do now?
No, it's not what you did. It's what I want you to do. Here, come on out the back way, and I'll give you a lift to school.
Keen, Unc.
What are you doing tonight, my boy?
Well, Piggy and I are going to a special Halloween show.
Oh, I was hoping you'd give me some ideas for Halloween stunts tonight.
Unc, aren't you a little old to be ringing doorbells and holding out your little sack for treat or treat?
It's not for me, Leroy. It's for the Jolly Boys. I'm going to lure them out to that old deserted house on Shadow Lane. They think they're always so smart. Believe me, this is one time I'm going to get ahead of them.
Well, good for you, Unc.
Oh, I'm thinking every minute, I tell you. Now, how about it? Will you and Piggy think up some tricks for me? Of course, I know one or two myself.
I bet you do.
After all, I was a kid once.
No kidding? I suppose you were even a baby once, too, weren't you?
Leroy, most people were. Now, after dinner, you and Piggy and I'll go over to the old haunted house with whatever stuff we'll need, and we'll set up the pranks before the Jolly Boys get there. We'll give them a treat with some of our tricks. Peavy.
Hello, Mr. Gildersleeve. What can I do for you this morning?
Well, while I tell you about some plans for tonight, you can give me a cigar.
I can't give you a cigar, Mr. Gildersleeve, but if you want to buy one, that's different.
Peavy, that was a mere figure of speech.
I know, Mr. Gildersleeve. I just can't ever resist pulling your leg. There's so much of it to pull.
Oh.
My, you're touchy today.
Well, I'm sorry to be so edgy, Peavy, but these days I don't tease very good.
And you can't be blamed. My gracious, I remember before I married Mrs. Peavy. My.
Something wrong, Peavy?
Oh, I was just letting my mind drift back to the time before I married Mrs. Peavy. Well, all good things must come to an end, I suppose.
Remember, Peavy, we're having a meeting of the Jolly Boys tonight.
Yeah, no, I can hardly wait. There is a tavern in
Not yet, Peavy. Now, listen. I told some friends we'd come out to their house and sing for a little party they're having.
Oh, we're going to entertain?
Well, there are two schools of thought on that. These friends are very poor and can't afford to hire professionals, so I promised we'd sing.
Oh, they can't be that poor.
Oh, they are. Now, the address is 903 Shadow Lane. It's an old house. You know it?
No, I can't say I'm familiar with it.
Oh, well, it's easy to find it. You and the Jolly Boys be there at 9:30 sharp.
Isn't that a little late?
Well, I need the time to set up, to get up there. Okay, Peavy?
Mr. Gildersleeve, you didn't pay for the cigar.
Oh, well, put it on my account.
Very well. Your patronage is always appreciated at your friendly neighborhood pharmacy.
Yeah, see you tonight at 9:30, Peavy.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Gildersleeve. My.
Sharp knife to cut that pumpkin, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Oh, thank you, Bertie. The mouths and eyes and noses are kind of tricky.
Yeah. You got candles to go inside them and light them up?
Oh, yes, in the sack with the black and orange crepe paper decorations. Yeah, Bertie, did you put kerosene in the hurricane lamp? Now, I'll have to show some light in the house, or the Jolly Boys will think nobody's home and go away.
Oh, yes, sir. Bertie tended to it. And there are big buckets and pails of water in the back of your car so you can fill the tub for apples.
Yeah, thanks, Bertie. It won't be running water in the old place, I'm sure.
Oh, my, it's too bad Leroy stayed at Piggy's house and didn't get some of that nice pumpkin pie for dinner.
Yeah, it was good, Bertie. But I suppose he and Piggy wanted some extra time to work out some stunts for me to use tonight.
I'll get it. Gildersleeve resident. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, thank you for calling, Miss Banks. Goodbye.
Does Leroy want me to pick him up?
Oh, no. Piggy's mother said they've gone to the movies.
The movies?
A special Halloween show.
Well, I know he said something about it, but I thought when I asked him to help me, he'd give it up. Not like Leroy to forget his old uncle. I was counting on him.
Oh, now, Miss Gildersleeve, Leroy's just a little boy, and little boys don't have very long memories.
Yes, I know, Bertie. Oh, well, it's all right. I'll just have to set up all the stuff myself.
It'll turn out all right, Miss Gildersleeve. Now, don't you worry.
Oh, I'm not worried, Bertie. A little thing like this can't worry me. Well, I better be getting out to the old haunted house. See you later. You could break your neck on these old steps. My word. Sounds like the first act of Dracula. Yeah, I expect to see bats and monsters. Mouthful of cobwebs. What a gloomy old wreck of a place this is. Yeah, me and my big ideas. Yeah, you better get rid of this stuff. Dump it here on the floor. Yeah. I'll hang the wooden skeleton from the chandelier. Nice and gruesome. Now, to the tub over here. And after I get it filled, I'll dump the apples into it. After we bob for them, we'll toss the peelings over our shoulders, and the letters they form is the initial of our true love. I wonder if mine will be L for Leela. What's that? Why, Georgia Tic Tac. Haven't heard one of those since I was a kid. Yeah, some little neighborhood children. It makes me think how we kids used to rig up a flying witch, blow up a balloon, and let the air escape. Yeah, I can almost hear it now. Hang a sheet over a long stick. Right, George, it was fun. Now, what'd I bring this mirror for? Oh, yes. To look and see what's reflected over my shoulder. The face I see will be that of the one I'm going to marry. You're a witch! You're a witch at the window! Oh, 7 years bad luck. This serves me right for paying attention to childish pranks. Go away, kiddies! I'll wring your blasted little necks. Now, let's see. I better get on with what Oh, that face, there on the floor. The grinning face, leering at me. Oh, confound it, is one of my own jack-o'-lanterns. Well, now to business. Better put up some paper decorations. Something's got me by the coattail. Let go, me. Let go. Caught on a nail. Come on now. Let go of my coat, you nail, you. No! Run! My feet! Oh, I slid into the basket of cider glasses. Oh, I wish the Jolly Boys would hurry up and get here. There are things going on around here that aren't supposed to be going on around anywhere.
The Great Gildersleeve will be back in just a moment.
November 1st, 1956, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to health care. And that's MediShare. You get both. The typical family saves $500 a month switching to MediShare. And that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. It's because MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you could save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. If you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number you need. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of The Great Gildersleeve, November 1st, 1956.
And now back to the Great Gildersleeve, who's gone all by himself to the old haunted house out on Shadow Lane to set up some stunts to scare the Jolly Boys. But things haven't been going quite according to plan.
Oh, my aching back. You never will get this tub filled with water. Thank goodness Halloween comes only once a year. Yeah, that's enough to bob for apples. Now let's see if I've got everything set up for the Jolly Boys. Yeah, will they be surprised? Thinking they're coming to sing for some poor friends of mine who can't afford real entertainment. What was that? Oh, my goodness. Great big black cat at the window, rolling its yellow eyes at me. Go away, kitty. Shoo! Scat, cat, scoot! You know, I wish it'd hurry up and be time for the Jolly Boys to get here. It's lonesome.
Make like a howling cat again, Peavy.
All right, Chief Gates.
Oh, you put real feeling in that, Peavy.
Best performance I've ever given. Now, you hold the cardboard steady now, or when I pull the string, your eyes won't roll. Can't you just picture the look on Mr. Gildersleeve's face? Careful. He'll hear us. We don't want him catching on till we do the headless spook. Here's the sheet.
But listen, Peavy, why do I have to do it?
Because you're spookier than I am. Here's the coconut head to carry under your arm.
I wish that owl would stop doing that.
Well, you're the chief of police. Why don't you arrest it?
No, Peavy. Say, I've got an idea. Why don't you come up to the door with me?
What's the matter? You chicken?
Oh, who's scared?
Well, then why do you want me to go with you?
You got anything else to do?
Well, I most certainly have. I have to blow this balloon up again for the wailing screeches.
It's just... Darn owl. Oh, come along with me, Peavy. Be my guest.
You big sissy, what are you scared of?
Who's scared?
You are.
I'm not scared. I'm the chief of police, but it's just a spooky place here. Old haunted house in the shadows, trees. When I think how scary I'll look standing there at the front door with a sheet over me and carrying a coconut head under my arm.
Maybe I'd better come along with you, Chief. But understand this just for your own protection.
Well.
Yeah, things are sort of quieted down around here. Guess all the spooks have gone to haunt some other old haunted houses. Yeah, I'll just finish up. Wait a minute. Still not time for the Jolly Boys. Who can that be? Yeah, I'm just not going to answer. I'll have to answer. I'll never know who or what it was. It'll keep me awake nights. Storms! The spook with his head on his arm. Two of them. No, that's enough. I'll grab you by your spooky necks and wring your clothes.
Wait a minute. Hey, I'll cut that out.
Chief Gates!
You quit it now.
Peavy!
That's a fine way to treat it.
I ought to have the law on you.
I thought all the time it was some bird-brained kids. I never dreamed it was a couple of bird-brained old men.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, gee, Commissioner, we were just having fun.
Oh, you big overgrown kids.
Yeah.
Come on in. Where are the rest of the Jolly Boys? Floyd and Judge Hooker?
They went to a Halloween party. You see, I caught on right away. I knew all the time you were trying to lure us Jolly Boys out here to this old haunted house just to play tricks on it. So we turned the tables.
It was just good, clean fun.
Well, I ought to...
You should have seen your face when you saw that cat.
Well, I've got a good mind.
And when you saw me standing there in that sheet.
Chief, Wait a minute. What's that noise?
What's that noise? Hey, what's that noise?
You feel a cold draft down the middle of your spine?
No, but I feel one down yours.
Fellas, I see something white sort of floating at us.
Where?
Huh?
It's got his head under his arm.
Oh, mercy sakes.
Now, there's nothing to be nervous about.
The main thing is not to frighten it.
Yeah, what about it frightening us?
Now, wait a minute, I'll handle this. We must show we're friendly. Hello there, Spooky.
What are you doing in my house?
Your house? Hear that, fellows? Just the owner of the house.
Yeah, pleased to make your acquaintance.
Likewise, I'm sure.
Yep. I don't believe we caught your name, sir.
I was Hiram Borgo.
Well, how do you...
What's the matter?
Yeah, Hiram Borkle built this house.
So what?
He's been dead for 65 years.
Oh, sure.
Yo.
I've been gone for a long, long time.
Yeah, I'll say, real gone. Oh, wait a minute. Why don't you just stay over there, and we'll stay over here until we leave, which is right now.
Don't be antisocial.
Excuse me, mister, but I've always wanted to ask a ghost, why do you drag along those heavy chains?
All ghosts carry chains. The clouds get slippery in wet weather. It's one of our union rules.
Oh, is that so?
They're also handy for a ghost-to-ghost hookup.
Let's get out of here, fellas. Back away from him toward the door. Well, Mr. Ghost, it's been nice meeting you spiritually like this, but we must run along now.
Come on, fellas.
Stop stepping on my toes.
Now, duck out when I open the door. A closet. Come on, fellows. The door must be over that way.
I thought you were going to have a party.
Yeah, well, we were, but we've changed our minds.
I thought I could be the ghost of honor.
Here's the door, fellows. Now, back up to it now. Well, toodle-little-little. We've just received word by our Ouija board that we're needed somewhere else. I'll open the door and then run on quick. Oop. Yeah, doorknob came off. Door must be over on this side. Bye-bye, Spooky. Come on, fellows.
November 1st, 1956, The Great Gildersleeve. The conclusion next on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Great Gildersleeve, November 1st, 1956.
Wait, I'm coming with you.
No, that isn't necessary.
In the name of the law, stay where you are. Hurry up, fellas.
We'll look for you next Halloween.
But this is my birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Now, come on. Is this the door? Yep, that's the door. Now, beat it.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Cheers, it did.
I warn you, Walk, if you leave.
I want you.
Wait a minute. Huh? You let me back into that house. Let me get my hands on that ghost. Where'd you go? Where are you? You can't get away from me, Leroy. Where are you?
I think he's over there.
No, this is me. He's over there.
Yeah, there he is. I'm gonna...
Phew, let me get that lantern over there.
The original Big Apple.
Yeah, well, don't just stand there. Get me out of here.
All together now. Come on. Heave-ho!
Yeah. I'm still stuck.
Well, not so much of the hole. A little more on the heave.
Yeah.
Are you all right now, Mr. Gildersleeve?
Am I all right? Broken legs and arms. Am I all right?
Gee, Commissioner, you're all wet.
Oh, golly, Unc, I'm awful sorry. When I saw you sprawled out in that tub with an apple in your mouth.
Leroy.
Gee, Unc, I wouldn't want anything to happen to you.
Leroy, No, Leroy, you're not to blame. My own fault. I started the whole thing trying to fool the Jolly Boys.
Gee, Halloween gets pretty rough sometimes.
Well, it's just that sometimes people go overboard with their stunts and forget the original meaning of Halloween.
I expect you mean All Hallows.
I don't get it.
Your uncle means the eve before All Saints' Day.
You see, Leroy, originally it was a very sacred and solemn occasion. People were preparing to commemorate the souls of the saints and the martyrs.
Gosh, I never knew about that.
Well, lots of people don't seem to know about it.
Well, then how did all the trick-and-treat stuff get into it?
Well, in olden times, they were very superstitious. And the tricks and things were to frighten off the evil spirits.
Yeah, by old fogies like us.
In our second childhood.
Yeah. Oh, now, see here, all you guys.
Yoo-hoo! Trick-or-treat!
Yeah, there's Bertie. Come on in, Bertie. Turn up the lantern, Chief.
All right.
Donuts inside, anybody? Oh, it's Bertie too early.
Bertie, you were almost too late.
Gotten here earlier, Bertie. Oh, gosh, it was swell. You should have seen it. Everybody almost died of fright. Huh?
Well.
Well,
Nobody really believes it, Leroy.
No, maybe not, Bertie. But, of course, sometimes it's fun to pretend you believe in spooks and hobgoblins and witches. Of course, there's always a very logical explanation for all of it. Well, getting kind of late. Food's all gone. I guess we'd better be starting for home. Huh?
Yeah, well, I'll get the
Well, I got some.
Now, wait a minute. Wait till I get to the door, folks. I'll get to the door. Uh-oh. Remind me to bring an oil can out here. Now, you see, there's always a simple, logical explanation for it.
He tripped. He fell through the steps.
Miss Gildersleeve, are you hurt?
Yeah, I'll find out if somebody will pull me up.
All right, everybody. Heave now.
By George. Yeah, tripped over something there on the steps. Chief, hold up that lantern a little so I can see what it was that I tripped. A broomstick? Well, which one of you witches left your broomstick here?
I never saw it before.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Doesn't it belong to anybody?
I never saw one quite like it before.
Me neither. Except in a Halloween picture of a witch riding one. And witch! This might be the real thing. Good night, folks.
The Great Gildersleeve is played by Willard Waterman and is a transcribed NBC Radio Network production, produced and directed by Virgil Reimer. Included in the cast were Walter Tetley, Amanda Randolph, Ken Christie, and Dick LeGrand. Musical compositions by Jack Meakin. Now, this is Don Rickles inviting you to listen again next week to another new adventure of the Great Gildersleeve.
November 1st, 1956, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Part 2 of the 5-part yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Valentine Caper. This originally broadcast November 1st, 1955.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
This is Charlie DeBaca down at headquarters. You left a call for me?
That's right, Inspector.
Thought you went back to Hartford. What now?
The company I represent happens to hold an insurance policy on Dan Valentine. They asked me to stay here in New Orleans and look into this attempt on his life.
How'd they hear about it so fast?
Well, it was in all the papers and on the wire services. Valentine's always been news, ever since Prohibition.
Yeah, a guy like him would be. Well, you know as much as I do, darling. No leads yet.
He's still quiet about the whole thing?
Just like a mouse who won't open up, except to say he'll take care of it himself.
Maybe it'll help matters when he finds out the insurance company's interested.
You know something?
What?
I don't think me, you, the whole force, the insurance company, or anybody else can keep that bird alive unless he helps
us. Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account, submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the New Britain Mutual Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Valentine matter. Expense account continued. Item 3, $3. One telegram to Roy Vickers in Hartford requesting a copy of the policy contracts between New Britain Mutual and Dan Valentine, plus the name and location of the beneficiary and any other data on the case. After that, I walked over to the police station and looked up Inspector DeBaca.
Sit down.
Thanks.
I don't quite get this, Dollar. What's your part?
Well, the insurance company would like a full report on everything that's happened, that's all.
You could give them that on the back of your thumbnail, couldn't you?
Not quite, Inspector.
Oh, you mean a separate report from what we have?
Something like that, yes.
Well, it's their dough. They can spend it any way they want to, I guess.
If there's any reason for them canceling the policy on Valentine, they'll do it. The fact that somebody shot at him a couple of times and came near killing him is one thing. The fact that he won't open his mouth about it is another.
They're looking for a way out?
I didn't say that. They just want to make sure about everything, that's all. An insurance policy is a contract, mutually beneficial to both parties. Both parties have to keep the line of that contract.
They don't figure Danny Valentine's running around shooting himself for insurance money.
Inspector, they don't figure anything.
Well, now that you've been official, be unofficial. What's your idea?
Well, Valentine's got a legitimate policy with the company. They don't want to see him killed. They tell me to investigate the shooting. Actually, they're telling me to see to it that he stays alive and well.
Well, that makes sense. Good luck.
If you'll sort of let me tag along on the case, I'd appreciate it.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, what's the matter now?
It just occurred to me. Valentine bought a house out in Jefferson Parish 3 months ago, a couple of days after he was released from a federal pen. Now, he's lived there quiet, minding his own business, keeping his nose out of trouble.
Yeah.
Well, as long as a man does that, even a man with a background like Valentine's, as long as a man does that, we don't bother him, and he doesn't bother us.
Well, so?
So what happens? Yesterday, you meet him and have a couple of drinks with him. Hello and goodbye. Boom, boom. He gets shot twice. By somebody, somewhere. You a bad news boy?
Now, that's as wild as you can get. We had nothing together except the drinks.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Well, I'm thinking about it just the same. Here. Be back in a minute.
The bulky, thick folder Inspector DeBaca shoved across the desk at me was marked Valentine Daniel. It started in 1915 and was fat with yellowed clippings all the way through 1942. There was a pretty good history of Dan Valentine and the age he lived in. He was born in Ireland and had fought in the Irish Rebellion. He was regarded as both hero and scoundrel. For his own good, he came to America. Somehow, he started out in the wholesale drug business. And understandably, it was an easy step to making Prohibition alcohol. And an even easier step to make prison on an income tax evasion charge. The folder mentioned a wife and a daughter who seemed to have successfully avoided most of the newspaper headlines that had involved Dan Valentine. There was one picture of Mrs. Valentine taken in 1928. That's about as far as I got when DeBaca came back into the room, not alone.
Interesting stuff?
Very, Inspector, very.
Well, here's something more interesting. My men have been covering the neighborhood where the shooting happened yesterday afternoon. This man's a witness. This is Mr. Dollar. He's an insurance investigator. It's Willie Blakely.
Oh, how do you do, sir?
Hope you can help us, Willie.
Well, I can try. I really didn't see too much. You see, I was on my milk truck, and I saw this fella, this big fella, walking down the street. What's his name?
Dan Valentine.
Yes, sir. Well, he was just walking, like for an early morning walk, and then I saw this car come around the corner, and there were a couple of men in it.
What kind of car?
I think it was a Buick sedan. I'm not sure. It was a black car.
You happen to get the license number?
No.
All right, go on.
Well, sir, this Mr. Valentine, he looked up when he saw it coming, and he stopped. You know, kind of funny.
No, I don't know. Tell me.
Well, you know, like he was surprised.
Do you think he was surprised at who was in the car?
Yes, sir, that's it. He sort of smiled. Not a hello kind of a smile. Sort of a sad smile. Didn't wave, just stood there. I couldn't see the men in the car by then, so I don't know how they were looking at him.
Did you see them as they rounded the corner?
Yeah, just a couple of fellas, dark coats and hats.
Would you know them if you saw them again?
I don't think so, Captain.
Okay. 2 men.
Yes, sir. So this Mr. Valentine stopped and looked at him and given this kind of smile.
He recognized them, you think?
Oh, yeah. And then I heard a noise, you know, something like whack, whack. And Mr. Valentine fell down, and the car drove off.
Did Valentine go for a gun?
No, sir.
What did you do then?
Well, I got out of there.
Why?
I didn't know what was happening. I didn't want to get hurt.
You didn't even try to help him?
No, sir. I was scared. I didn't know what that whack, whack was, sir.
And it took you all this time to tell us about it.
Sorry, Captain.
Dollar.
Yeah.
You got something to worry about. That noise he was talking about didn't sound like regular gunshots, or he would have said so.
Silencer.
What else?
Inspector DeBaca continued to question the witness, trying to ascertain more details about the shooting, the car, and the men inside the car. 4 hours later, when I left, he was still at it. Some more expenses. Item 4, $2.50. Cab fare from police station to hospital. I thought I'd drop in and take a chance on Dan Valentine coming across with some information.
Sorry, no visitors.
It's pretty important. I'm a friend of his.
I'm sorry.
When can I see him?
That's hard to say. Mr. Valentine's condition is not too good.
What?
Well, nothing to be alarmed about. He lost so much blood that he's in a weakened condition. The doctor's ordered a transfusion.
Oh.
You can phone in later if you like. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am?
I should like to see Mr. Valentine, please.
I'm sorry. I was just telling this gentleman. That's impossible.
How is he?
He needs rest. The doctor feels he'd be better off without visitors at the moment.
Thank you.
I had a feeling about the gray-haired, well-dressed woman, and I hurried after her down the long corridor outside the hospital. I was just in time to see her take a cab that had been waiting at the curb. I managed to hail one myself, and we tagged along Canal Street behind her until she paid off the driver in front of the Roosevelt Hotel. I was right behind her when she stopped in the lobby and got a key to room 1016. I gave her 5 minutes, then I knocked on her door.
Yes?
Hello, Mrs. Valentine. My name's Johnny Dollar. Anne Valentine looked at me for a long time. I had to hand it to her. There were no tears, no frowns or screams. Just a wide, frank look from a woman who, by any man's standards, had once been beautiful.
I haven't been called by that name for many years. You're a reporter, of course.
No, I'm not. I'm an insurance investigator. In a policeman's office today, I saw one of the few pictures ever taken of you.
At this hotel, I'm registered under the name of Ann Ward.
Ward is good enough for me, Mrs. Valentine. May I come in?
Yes. Now, what is it you want, Mr. Dollar?
Possibly the same thing you want. To keep your husband alive.
I believe that's up to the doctors, isn't it?
Not quite. If he was shot at once and he won't help the police find out who did it, there's a reasonable chance he'll be shot at again. Do you know who did it? Well, who it might be. Look, the police have found a witness who describes two men as having done the shooting. Can you add anything to that?
Mr. Dollar, I haven't seen Dan in over 13 years. I haven't written to him, talked to him, or contacted him in any way, either while he was in prison or these last few months he's been out.
I see.
It was his idea.
But he must have had a reason.
He did. Our daughter.
Oh.
She believes that Ward was her dead father's name. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah.
I read about the shooting. I caught the first plane here because I thought I might help Dan. My daughter thinks I'm on a little vacation by myself. You don't believe me, do you?
Well, in view of what you've just said about not having written to him for 13 years...
That was the way he wanted it. I was never ashamed of Dan, never. He was ashamed of himself and how his activities might affect us. He gave me everything I ever had out of life. In New Salem, that's where we live, and live very well because Dan saw to that part of it before he went to prison. We are considered very proper people, Teresa and myself. Dan sacrificed a great deal for that consideration.
I think that you've sacrificed a great deal yourself, Mrs. Valentine.
When I go back to the hospital to see him tonight, he'll probably tell me to pack my bag and go home, that there's nothing to worry about.
But there is something to worry about, isn't there, Mrs. Valentine? He won't talk about it, and you won't talk about it, and both of you know all about it.
Oh, Mr. Dollar, you're a very young man. I'm sorry if I sound like I could help you. I can't. Please go.
I went back to my hotel and had some dinner. Then after a while, I put in a phone call to the hospital and found out I could talk to Dan Valentine between 7:30 and 9. About then, a special delivery came for me. It contained the information I wanted regarding the policy on Dan Valentine. I noticed that the beneficiary was a dual affair, wife and daughter, Anne and Teresa Ward. I had to check with Inspector DeBaca just once more. No luck. He had been unable to identify or locate the two killers described by the witness. He was trying to trace the car. 7:30 on the dot, I was at the hospital. The reception desk seemed reluctant to talk and referred me to the head nurse, who happened to be out to dinner, who referred me to the surgical nurse, who took me aside and told me to find a crystal ball.
Mr. Valentine's gone. We have no idea where.
How could he be gone?
We started to give him a transfusion. He jumped up suddenly, knocked down one of the male nurses, grabbed his clothes, and ran out of the hospital. Just as simple as that.
I thought he was in a serious condition.
Shh, keep your voice down. He was in a serious condition, and it's going to be critical pretty soon. Running around town bleeding from 2 bullet wounds. If you want to keep him alive, Mr. Dollar, you better find him and find him fast.
I thought over what Dan Valentine had told me in the hospital earlier about taking care of the matter himself. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized he was going to do just that. even if it killed him.
There'll be another intriguing episode in our story of the Valentine matter tomorrow.
Tomorrow, what happens to a 30-year-old grudge when somebody explains it with bullets? Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for another exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
November 1st, 1955, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And if you want copies of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, Let George Do It, Adventures of Philip Marlowe, Ted over at RadioMemories.com has just remastered a bunch of those shows, so they're in exceptional quality. Contact them, Ted at RadioMemories.com. Tell them I sent you by. All righty, thank you for tuning in. If you miss a day on this station, you don't have to miss a single show. You can find all of our shows on demand at classicradio.stream. That is classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows, learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links, lists of places where our shows are available via podcast. You can also contact me, and more importantly, you can buy me a coffee too. The Buy Me a Coffee money goes for us to acquire additional great classic radio collections. Have yourself a great day. Thank this station. Support their advertisers. Tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.